Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's episode of Advanced Bass Fishing, and really appreciate you guys coming by the channel to check today's video out, because today guys we're going to be talking about fishing riprap in the springtime of the year, give you guys some tips and advice how to do that, sort of get into some of the deeper nuances of it as far as some things that people don't understand about riprap, because riprap fishing is not as simple as what it looks. It looks like it's just a big straight stretch of rocks, but there's a lot of subtle things about it that people overlook or don't know, so we're going to really get into that in today's episode. Also, guys, just a big thank you out there. I want to extend a big thank you from me and my family for everybody that's taken time to support Advanced Bass Fishing here. If you guys have taken time to subscribe to the channel or become a channel member, or use my lake map breakdown links in the description, or use my tackle warehouse links I put in every description, you guys are really doing a big part to support Advanced Bass Fishing and keep it on YouTube here. So thank you very much if you're one of the viewers that's been doing that. I really appreciate that. Okay, if you guys have watched my 3 channels before, you know I talk quite a bit about riprap. And I love fishing riprap, guys. I don't like fishing it because it gets a lot of fishing pressure, but I love to fish it because it holds so many bass, especially in the springtime of the year, especially in the pre-spawn time of the year. And I've extensively studied riprap, and I fished it a ton. I've got a lot of different techniques that work on it. I've done well on it, and I sort of want to share quite a bit of that with you guys in today's video. First of all, let's talk a little bit about why bass use riprap. There's a lot of different reasons. Number one, you've got the cover of the rock. Most riprap is larger rock. It's like rock that's the size anywhere between grapefruit to basketball size. It provides a lot of cover for the entire food chain. You've got algae and plankton that grow on these rocks. You got minnows and perch that come in there and feed on the algae and plankton. Again, the smaller fish like the little bass and the perch feed on the minnows, which brings the bass in. You got crawdads living there. It's just a good cover. Fish love to be around rock. There's a lot of dark places for them to hide in, little crevices they can get into. So it's really good. And also, depending upon how the riprap is set up, riprap usually is associated with current to some extent, because a lot of ripraps are like lining bridge overpasses, and those narrowed down areas where those bridge overpasses come through the lake usually funnels some current through there. So you usually got a little bit more moving water. So a lot of positive things for a bass, to want to be there. Bass live on riprap 12 months out of the year on about any lake that you have in the country, but some lakes are going to be a little bit better than others based upon how the riprap's set up and water clarities and such. First of all, the best water clarity for fishing a riprap is off-colored water. Water visibility of less than 3 feet is normally the best situation for fishing a riprap. Personally, the lakes that I fished before that have really clear water in it, like if you got water visibility over 3.5 or 4 feet, I've caught fish on riprap, but they don't hold the numbers of fish like they do on the off-colored water riprap. The best water clarity for fishing riprap would be water visibility of, say 6 inches to 3 foot is perfect. And if you gave me say, Randy, what's your favorite water clarity for fishing riprap? I would say about 1 foot of visibility, maybe 1 foot, maybe 2 foot, anywhere between 12 to 18 inches of visibility is perfect. Because when you have 12 to 18 inches of visibility, it allows the bass to use a lot of different depth zones on that riprap. There'll be some fish that are shallow on it, some fish that are 3 or 4 feet deep, and there may be some fish hanging out in 8 to 10 foot of water, and some fish may even suspend off of it. So that's the zone that I like to look. And it seems like to me that a lot of lakes fall into that. It's like a lot of lakes that have riprap have that 2 to 3 foot of visibility, or 1 to 2 foot of visibility. So there's a lot of water like that. And the type of riprap, it just depends on the lake. Some lakes just have riprap on the dam. Some lakes have riprap on bridge passes. Some have riprap in between docks. Some have little break walls, little wing dams of riprap. Every lake is unique to itself on how to set up. So therefore, some lakes are going to be better riprap lakes than others. For example, a lake like Lake Eufaula in Alabama, excellent riprap lake. A lot of riprap on that lake. Some of the lakes like Lake Norman in North Carolina, you have a lot of riprap that's shallow between the docks. So it just depends on how it's set up. But in today's video, I want to give you guys some tips on catching bass in the springtime of the year on riprap. Now, in the springtime of the year, I like to, when I talk spring, guys, I'm talking about pre-spawn. I'm not talking about I'm talking about when the water temperature is 45 to 60 degrees before they actually start spawning. 45, 55, 58 degrees. In the pre-spawn period, there's a couple different things that I want. Number one is I want riprap next to deep water. I want to be on riprap that is very close to deep water. Therefore, the riprap that you see between boat docks that's normally shallow, that's not going to be that good. Maybe some type of like little break walls aren't going to be that good. But the best riprap in the pre-spawn is the ripraps that are long stretches of riprap that maybe are underneath overpasses. You know, like Lake Dardanelle's got a lot of them in Arkansas, or maybe the dam riprap, an area that's got a big long stretch of dam riprap on it. These big, vast, long stretches of riprap that have deep water off of it. These are excellent pre-spawn areas because bass live on riprap all year long, but I think that they use riprap also as staging areas to move in and out of. And those are the two types that I have done the best on more than anything else. So when I finally have that type of riprap there, I'm looking for the baits that are going to allow the fish to react on them based upon the conditions, because based upon the weather conditions, certain baits are going to be better than others. And one of the things you'll find out about riprap is there's very few other pieces of structure that the bass react so differently based upon your weather patterns. Riprap in general doesn't have any other cover on it except rock. There's no shade on it. There's no logs normally or docks or anything. It's just rock. So therefore, the light intensity, a wind, all that type of stuff has a big impact on it. Now, if I'm fishing riprap in the pre-spawn, again, when the water temperature is 45 to 58 degrees, something like that, my number one choice is going to be based upon the specific water temperature in correlation with the water visibility. If I'm fishing water visibility and if I'm fishing water temperatures that are under 50 degrees, like in the 40s, my favorite lure is a jerkbait. A jerkbait is an outstanding lure on a riprap. And I just make long parallel casts trying to target the depth I think the fish are in based upon the water visibility. But I've caught a ton of fish on riprap on a jerkbait. By far my number one lure, if it's under 50. If the water temperatures start to climb above 50, like 50, 55 degrees, low 50s, that is when your crankbaits are going to be better. Crankbaits are outstanding lures on a early season riprap. Some type of a medium diving crankbait that'll hit that, 3 to 6 foot zone is going to be really good. Colors, it can be a variety just depending upon your water clarities. I'm usually throwing some type of a fire tiger, crawdad, or shad pattern, again, based upon my light intensity or the, water visibility. Crawdad pattern if it's, cloudy and a little bit of off-colored water. Shad patterns if it's a little bit brighter and maybe the water's a little bit tiny bit on the little cleaner side. And then the fire tiger patterns or the chartreuse back ones on those real low light days is going to be pretty good. Again, trying to target that 3 to 6 foot zone with that. Also, when the water temperatures are in the 50s like that, a jig can be really good. If you're catching some fish on a jig or even a jerkbait on a riprap, go back through those areas with a jig, like some type of a brown jig, and just pitch it up to the rocks and work it down in the same zone that you think those fish are going to be there. Another thing with riprap is a commitment. It's like these fish are moving up and down the riprap all day long. So if you're catching some fish on a riprap, there is a good chance that you can stay there all day long and catch them. So make like one pass, go in one direction, turn the boat and come back down the opposite direction, give the fish a little bit different, look on the angle of the bait coming through there. When the water starts getting over 55 degrees, like that 55 to 60 degrees, a spinnerbait can be really good. Slow rolling a spinnerbait or slow rolling an Alabama rig. I've caught a bunch of big ones doing that. Now, it's a little bit different when I'm fishing a spinnerbait because I'm paralleling the bank with the jerkbait and the crankbait, but with the A-rig and the spinnerbait, I'm casting to that riprap at a 45-degree angle. So I'll put my boat in, say, 10 to 20 foot of water, cast to the bank, and I just slow roll that A-rig and that spinner bait close to the bottom. I want that bait occasionally hitting the bottom, so I'll throw it out there and just turn the handle slow enough to keep the blades, going on the A-rig and the spinner bait, trying to tick it along the bottom. And I probably caught more big ones doing that than anything. Slow rolling the spinner bait and A-rig has produced the bigger fish for me by far, even though you may not catch quite as many. And also sometimes, once that water temperature does get in the upper 50s, I've caught them on some type of a larger swim bait, like a Megabass Mag Draft can be pretty good, once it gets closer to that. But the main thing, it's just, you've got to commit to it, and you've got to figure out the lure that the bass want. Riprap is a highly fished structure. It's very obvious. I don't like fishing areas that get a lot of fishing pressure, so that's sort of like the exception to the rule to me, riprap. But I love fishing riprap because there's so many fish that use it, and good fish that use it. And I've been able to do really well in riprap tournaments. In fact, I look forward to it. If I have a tournament where there's a lot of riprap in it, I love that because I feel like that I can adjust my techniques to, whatever conditions we're going to have out there. So when you're fishing riprap, pay close attention to what everybody else is doing. Pay close attention to the lures that they're fishing, and experiment with your lures until you figure what the fish want. And also change up lures a lot, because you're going back and forth on the same stretch a lot. And a lot of times just changing the profile of your lure, going to a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger bait or different color can make all the difference in the world. All the tournaments, guys, that I have done good on in riprap, it's usually because I figured out the bait they want. It could be the color or what the lure or whatever, but normally there's one lure that the fish want on riprap that specific day that will outproduce any other lure by far, and you just sort of have to experiment until you figure out what that is. But like I said, best success I've had on riprap, guys, have been jerk baits, crank baits, A-rigs, spinner baits, jigs, that type of thing. That's obviously it's just depends on what the bass prefer that day. But don't pass it up, man. Don't pass it up, and you just keep an open mind, make a commitment to it, experiment with your baits, casting angles, see what happens there. So I hope it helps you guys out. See you.